John, did we lose our music?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Independent Truckers right here, Truckers Independent Broadcasting Network. With Sean Mitchell and myself, John Grosvenor. Tonight we got Miss Jenna Hague on with us tonight. How you guys doing?
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Okay. I'm doing good tonight, John. We're sitting in Clearwater, Minnesota, enjoying what's left of summer.
Summer's over, bud.
What's left of it? It's what's left of the sun. We're enjoying what's left.
Now, Jenna, you're down there in Florida, so it's almost summer year-round for you guys, right? What do you get, like 2 months of fall and right back into summer?
Yeah, although I will say that the weather's been really, really nice the last week. And nice for us is it's been like 70 so in the evening. So that's nice. I'll take it.
Yes. Yeah, it gets to be really nice
when I was
this time of year.
When I was down there at Pompano Beach last week, it was in the 80s.
Yep. Yeah, but tonight it's in the 70s. I'll take it, even if it's just for a few days.
We have had some interesting weather this time of year. For us in New England, it's been rather warm up until just this week. And now we're finally getting down in the 40s in the morning, where it should be, and it's starting to feel good to me. But,
yeah, I look forward to those few days that we get that I get up in the morning and it's in the 50s. I really enjoy those.
So, Jenna, we'd asked you here for a reason tonight. Are you ready to do battle with some of our drivers?
Let's go.
So, Jenna Hague, ladies and gentlemen, is running for State Senate for District 98 out of Broward County. And Jenna, could you give us a little background of what you do before you decided to run for state?
Sure. So I was never in politics before. I started getting involved with grassroots campaigns in like the 2016, 2017 year. And I started knocking doors, things like that. And as I did that, I got more involved. But I've worked in the construction and development industry for about 20 years as a financial controller. And with all the craziness going on in the world, I sat back and said, okay, I have to do something. So what am I going to do? And I looked at all of the seats that were available in my area, and I picked state rep because it was the one that I felt like I could touch the most places and do the most good with.
Now, you actually did a video, and I don't know if John's got a clip of that, but you'd actually confronted the school board over a few issues.
Yes. So I battled the school board on at least a monthly basis, if not weekly. I am typically at the school board almost every Tuesday morning fighting the school board here in Broward County. We have probably the most difficult in the state.
And what particular issues are you referring to that you're talking right now about?
So in Florida, there was an executive order done by our governor to make masks optional, essentially, for kids. And it falls under the Parents' Rights Bill, which was passed last session. And Broward County has decided that they don't care what the governor says, what the law says, that they know what's best for all of the kids in Broward County instead of the parents. So they've decided to defy the order, and they have mandated masks. They kids in school for COVID. They've been doing vaccine drives in the schools. They outright do basically anything and everything that they can to defy the parents having any sort of say in their kids' education.
It's kind of funny because I've got a sister-in-law that lives out west, and when I go out, her and I always go to this one place to eat. And she told me, if you're coming out here next time, either have your VAC card or don't bother coming, because they are asking for that now. Is that school board going to that extreme?
So they have not yet. I actually did speak on that. We're trying to be a little proactive now instead of reacting to everything. So last week I was at the school board with a group of parents, and we were all speaking against a vaccine mandate for schools. Now, there is a law in the books in Florida that you cannot ask for proof of vaccination to attend school or to go into a business at all. There's a $5,000 fine per time that it's done, but we've already seen that the school board doesn't follow the law. So we are trying to prepare for them to do that. And we haven't gotten to that point yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if they try.
Well, it kind of sounds like to me they're doing the same thing Washington does. They don't care. So
yes.
Right there on the other screen is prime example. The man that set up the driver's board for the FMCSA, and they politely told him he was no longer welcome.
Before the first meeting.
Because John speaks his mind. Kind of like what you are doing.
I kind of also said on a show one time that I'd meet Joseph DiLorenzo in hell one day. It probably didn't set well with them if they heard it.
So here's a question I was going to ask you. So we've covered a little bit about your background. And I warned you I was going to ask this question. Do you remember it?
Which one?
Why did the Florida Turnpike Authority shut down part of the interstate to test drive a self-driving truck, and the damn thing didn't even go 10 feet?
I mean, I'm going to say it's all about the money. It's always
John?
about the money.
And now the company's out of business.
Doesn't surprise me.
They kind of did it to themselves in that regard. The thing made it 10 whopping feet. I don't think they were going very far. It was pretty symbolic in itself.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot of drivers laughing. I seen it on when they showed it on the podcast. There was a whole lot of drivers just laughing their butts off. So
listen, I for one am glad that it didn't work, because I really do think that we need people behind the wheel, especially in a truck. So
there's one thing I want you to promise me if you become state senator.
Okay.
At least I'm going to promise me you will try.
Okay.
Because I know I can't put. I know you could not pull this off alone. They have classes, a class where they classify those autonomous trucks.
Oh yeah.
A class 5 is without a driver.
Oh. Okay.
Missouri has tried to pass into legislation. No class 5 truck will go across their state. It has to have a driver in it. I would like to see you guys pass something like that as well.
I will absolutely try. So there's actually a slate of different people across the state that I've spoken to, and we're all on the same page. And the hope is that, because we're all going through the election at the same time, is that all of us get elected. And then when we get to Tallahassee, we actually have some power that we can pass things like that because we're not just by ourselves as a freshman class, standing there having to wait for somebody else to say, oh, you can do this.
Right. So you remember a couple years ago when the trucks were lined up and down 27, you told me.
Yep.
And what was your first impulse of that?
Oh,
I know it's been a while, but
it has. And I honestly don't remember the circumstances behind it. But I do remember it was a sight to be seen for sure.
Part of it's over your past what you used to do for a living. You did say you worked at the port, and a lot of the port drivers in Florida and California are not too happy right now.
Well, that does not surprise me one bit. I mean,
so what exactly did you do at the port, if I may ask?
Sure, absolutely. I actually worked for the sheriff's office, and I helped with security essentially in the port and making sure that everybody coming in was not carrying something they shouldn't, and just helping the Broward Sheriff's Office overall with all of that.
Now, it's been my understanding from what I've been reading in the news the last few days that any ships that can make it through the Panama Canal, they've been trying to come into the port of Miami. Have you heard of any news of that to be true?
Yeah, so our governor actually had a press conference today and put something out yesterday that said all of our Florida ports are open and they are fully staffed and ready to take in any cargo to help alleviate what is going on essentially in New York and California and some of these other ports that can't get things in.
Oh, okay.
Are we having a WWE here, or is this UT? Yeah, I mean, Sean I've never seen a man lose a fight with his microphone before, so this is interesting.
It's not the microphone; it's
sorry,
the phone
camera.
itself.
This is great. So you're not familiar with the
Oh,
ports
you
as
think
far
it's great? Oh, yo, you're funny. You're a funny
I guess
guy.
you finally won it. So you're not familiar with the ports as far as shipping lanes and things like that goes, dwell times or anything like that, then?
No.
Strictly just almost law enforcement. What were you, a sheriff's deputy or something? Or
I was a CSA, so community service aide.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a good time. I mean, it was definitely interesting in the port, and that was before. So for the Port Everglades now has private security that runs all of that. But back when I did it, they weren't there. It was all the sheriff's office. I guess they got tired of paying it.
I see the DOT.
But I mean,
off from what is it, $5.95 years ago? I remember DOT hanging out there. Every truck coming out of the port was subjugated to inspections.
Yep.
Wasn't good. Not for truckers anyway. So that's, I guess I won't go with that question as far as what you may be thinking happening at the California ports.
Well,
Now,
I could tell you.
What exactly drives you? What got you into politics in the first place? I don't know if I missed that at the beginning or if, was it COVID related? Was it a local crisis or something faith-based where you see? A while back ago, there was a guy in Fort Lauderdale, a priest or a preacher that got arrested for feeding the homeless. So I just kind of curious, are you just seeing all these things going on, or is it just a combination?
Yeah, so Broward is essentially like the bluest county in Florida. And I'm conservative. So I always feel sort of alone in this county. But I have 2 young kids. And as things kind of kept getting crazier and crazier, I really started doing my research more and more. And I just said, I can either sit back and scream at my TV and say, why isn't somebody doing something? Or I can go do it myself. And down here in Broward, most of the seats go unopposed. So Democrats run and they just win because nobody runs against them. So
I noticed that.
Yeah. So the problem is then if you're not on the left, you really have no representation. There's nobody to have a voice for you in the state level. And yes, Florida is red in the sense that our Florida House and our Florida Senate and our governor are all, we have a Republican majority in all of them, and our governor's a Republican. But you would think that you entered a different country when you enter Broward County, because it's not like the rest of the state. I mean, during COVID in Broward, things were shut down. I personally know somebody who owned a gym, and he was arrested for keeping his gym open in Florida. Here in Broward County, schools were shut down. My daughter was doing school from home, and I became her teacher. Restaurants, we had a curfew at one point. We couldn't leave our house after a certain time. That is not a country that I have ever lived in, nor do I ever want to, and I don't want my kids to. So when I really sat back and I said, okay, this is crazy. What do I do? And I think one of the things that's been forgotten is that the states really hold more power than the federal government, and the federal government's forgotten that too. So for me, that's why I decided to get into politics and to run on a state level, because I felt like I could do more there.
There's a lot of power in the states. And
yeah,
there seems to be a power struggle right now going on with the federal government. They're reaching out to take more and more away any way they can find an avenue. They like to lean on that Commerce Clause really, really hard. You know?
Yeah.
And I always tell people you're losing your rights to private sector business because they use private sector, especially with technology, to get into people's personal lives. And once that proprietary information belongs to the private sector or private business, the government can acquisition that information, which violates your personal rights.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I had PBS come to my house, and they did an interview, and they asked me, they said, well, why is the mask such a big deal? You know, a lot of people would say, oh, it's just a piece of cloth over your face. And I said, well, it's not just a piece of cloth, and it's what's behind it in all reality. You know, every time we give something up, you have to fight tooth and nail to get it back, if you ever do get it back. You know, people walk around and they talk about, oh, this is the new normal. This is never going to be my new normal. That's not something I am okay with. You know, so I think we need more everyday people. I've never been in politics before, so I'm not bought. And the more that I looked at things, there's just so much corruption going on that's not how our system was originally designed. It was designed for the average person to go be a representative and then go back home to their farm or to, you know, their whatever profession they had at home. It wasn't supposed to be this lifelong thing.
It's not supposed to be the family business you hand it down from generation to generation, and that's what it's turning into.
Right.
It's kind of like a lot of these politicians, especially in regard to the federal government, they become establishment politicians. And they're more or less just serving the corporation. By that, I mean the DNC Services is a corporation. It isn't some just government entity. It isn't just some. In fact, there's federal corporations, the FMCSA that we deal with all day long. That is a federal corporation, you know. And so we're being run over by corporations and a corporate mindset within the government, instead of having an actual governing body that works for the people. And I think that's what you're getting at here.
Yep. Yeah.
So do we have any questions for Jenna, John?
Well, I imagine then if you're in a blue county, you're running against a blue incumbent. Is that correct?
I am, yes. Yes.
And how strong do you think your chances are running against them? Is it looking good or?
I think I have a really good chance. So the person I'm running against hardly even shows up. He only voted 37% of the time last session. So he doesn't even show up to do the job.
Wow, that's low.
If it's the same person I read about, the only reason he got elected is because the DNC showed up nominate him as a candidate, and then COVID hit.
So this person's actually been in office prior to COVID. It's his second term right now that he's in. But there was nobody running. Nobody ran against him last time. So he got in kind of by default. And really, although we're very blue, we have a lot of independent voters. So that's where my target is, because if I can reach the independent voters, then there's no question that I can win the election.
You know, it's funny since COVID came out. COVID's almost like a blessing in disguise. You know, as we were talking about COVID and stuff, you're talking about being in a blue county. Living here in New England, I deal with a lot of blue areas and stuff. A lot of liberal mindset up here right now. Massachusetts, 'cause I'm in southern New Hampshire. So Massachusetts is just across the line where I'm at. And but I've noticed with COVID coming out, with what happened during the elections, and I'm sorry, but they cheated to win. They had to have. There's no way he got 81 million votes. And I keep seeing these "Don't tread on me" flags flying everywhere now. I'm seeing these Trump signs flying everywhere. You're driving through what you would consider blue areas, blue regions, and you're seeing Trump and "Don't tread on me." You're starting to see this kind of mindset where people are saying, I've had enough. I just want my American freedoms. You know, and I often say to people, if you ask them 3 questions, you know, is do you believe in reasonable laws we can live by? Do you believe that we should have limited government intrusion? And do you believe our Constitution should be protected at all costs? And usually the answer is yes, yes, and yes emphatically. You know, people believe in those things. Well, that's basically the premises of conservatism. That's what we want. And a lot of people on the left actually look at that, but they're trying to fit into a mold they don't belong into. I think they're discovering that now.
Well, and I think in a lot of cases, like where I live in Indiana, we just live out in the country type thing. But we get a lot of everybody from moving in from different states, and then they're trying to change the laws. Well, you're trying to change a law that you just ran from. Why did you move? It's kind of the same principle.
That is Florida to the T. I grew up in Florida, and that is Florida to the T. You get these folks from New York State come down, and they're like, oh, we just love it down here. It's so nice and stuff. But we need to change some laws. It's like they talk about everything that they ran away from, but they want to create laws in regard to what they ran away from and create a state back into what they ran from.
It's the atmosphere, John. It's the atmosphere. There's no snow in Florida.
They love the heat. It's flat.
Yeah, but they also like our taxes.
Not me.
Right?
Not me. Well, I don't miss those taxes at all. I'm sorry.
I mean, in terms of like when you're coming from New York and having an income tax there, a state income tax, and you don't have that here, you know, that definitely puts more money in your pocket. And then, but think about who put those policies in place. Right.
That's just it. When you have a conservative state, that's exactly it. Limited taxes, and people enjoy that. Living here in New Hampshire, we have the same issue. We don't have a state income tax, and we don't have a state sales tax. And people love it. They love the freedoms here. They love the cost of living is so much cheaper, more affordable. So they migrate from Massachusetts, but then they vote left. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah. You're ruining what we got.
Right.
Stop doing that.
Yeah, I will say though, you know, when you said COVID is kind of a blessing in disguise, it was, in terms of a lot of people I talk to are paying a lot more attention than they ever have before. And they're more engaged now, and they were never engaged before. And that's why we got here, is because people blindly trusted that things were going to go the right way. And now people are actively participating. And I love seeing that.
I think that's how the vaxxers are. There's blind faith in government. You know, it's like, did you forget about the Tuskegee experiment? Did you forget about the Trail of Tears? Did you forget about the many experiments that people disregard, or the PSYOPs or the CIA from the 1950s, and the crap that went on in this country and how they treated some people? It's kind of like, you know, I'm sorry, I'm not too keen on this vaccine because it hasn't been hasn't gone through clinical trials like any other vaccine has. It hasn't been tested properly. And I don't know. I'm kind of thinking something else is up. If they got to market it, push it, then threaten you if you don't take it, something else has got to be going on with this.
Well, my problem with it too is that we're not looking, people say follow the science, but where's the real science? Like, I had COVID and I went and I had antibody testing and I have antibodies to it. So why is that not considered in this picture? Instead of just, go get the vax, but I have natural antibodies.
There is a National Institute of Health link I have somewhere, and it talks about mass hysteria in regards to COVID and the fact that even government officials react and make mistakes as they pass legislations or mandates or the stupid stuff that they do. And it hits on the whole point that there's adverse effects to having COVID. And Trump talked about that when he was talking about suicide rates going up and loss of economy and all these other things that COVID triggered all these other issues. And they refer to this in this whole study. I don't know if you got if you want to send me an email, I'll send you that link if you want it.
Yeah, I would love that.
And but it's pretty good reading.
What I'd like to do, if we could, John, while you're doing that, send her the link on the Dan Stock interview.
Okay. That was a good interview. We did that on the Common Sense Conservatives.
Dan Stock is actually the Indiana doctor that stood up at the school board and made the statement that he showed all these facts and he was willing to go pro bono at any time to prove that what he was saying was true. Now, the next day, all the papers in Indiana were all over him like white on rice, but he brought out some very good evidence that, to me, common sense just brings it out of you.
I went to a city commission meeting with the OSHA rules in regards to asbestos and the size of the asbestos molecule being larger than the COVID virus molecule. And yet for asbestos, you have to wear a fitted respirator. You cannot wear just an N95 mask. You can't wear a cloth mask because it clearly says that the molecules can get through all of those and that you still can be exposed to asbestos. So if OSHA is saying that for asbestos and the molecule for the virus is smaller, I stood there and I said, I don't understand. Then why are we wearing these? Because it's obviously not protecting us. I mean, I could go home and make a mask out of a T-shirt, and you're going to say that that's acceptable. There's no.
And that's funny. That's funny you bring that up because I stopped at a Subway in Ohio, and they wouldn't serve me without a mask. And I looked at the kid, and I said, "You ain't got one on." Well, yeah, I do. I said, "That's a piece of cloth. That's not even an official mask." But yet, though, you're going to tell me that you're not going to serve me?
Yep.
But I said, I can go out and put a T-shirt on over my face. Well, if you do something like that, I'll sell you whatever you want.
Right.
What's the point?
And somebody told me to pull my T-shirt up over my face when I didn't have a mask. I went into a restaurant.
I honestly think when you put a mask over your face, you're covering your mouth, you lose an identity. You don't see a person anymore. You don't know who the person behind that is. And it also makes people stay, with the social distancing and everything else. And then people don't communicate. They can't get together. And now everybody has this fear that is instilled in them. And that mask becomes a symbol of that.
And this ain't something like what what I and your husband went through being in boot camp.
Right.
When we had to go through NBC training.
Yep.
This is nothing like that.
He talks about that all the time. He's like, if this was a true pandemic, he's like, there's no way this doesn't fit. This doesn't work.
I'll give you one little quick tidbit here on how that works. So this is what happens when you're also in the Army and 9 of your 12 drill instructors are Green Beret or Special Forces. So, yeah, when it came time to go in the gas chamber for a rifle range, Well, back then I smoked filtered cigarettes. It's amazing what happens when you put two of them up your nose. It will actually filter out that CS gas.
Wow. That's impressive.
Even John's impressed. Look at him; he's speechless.
Yeah, right. I got.
So anyway, so one other question I did want to ask you about trucking is, now we talked briefly about the ELDs.
Yes.
And we talked about how tracking is something similar, like with the COVID, the fact that you lose your identity in a sense because now they can track you. The problem that I have with this is I have to spend $1,500 a year for a government mandated device in my own personal commercial vehicle. This that I bought. Where is my due and just compensation?
And I agree with you. I was actually talking to somebody else today whose son just started a trucking company, and they were complaining about the same thing, the exact same thing. And it's federal overreach. It's too much. You know, if it's not broken, why are we trying to fix it with the old paper logs? Why? So that they can track, they have the data, they know where you are, what you're doing at all times. They have more control.
John Grosvenor has a very good idea on how to take care of a lot of things, but it seems like nobody in Washington wants to listen to him.
They get real quiet. We got a caller come in here, Sean. Go ahead and bring him in. And unless you want to get into all those issues, I mean. Hey, Leland, your mic is open.
Hello. I was loading the truck, so I didn't get in until just now. So I was going to listen and then add anything I had to add.
Oh, okay. I thought you. Well, we'll just leave your.
Now, real quick, Jenna. If you got any questions on autonomy, this is the man to ask.
Oh, is that your specialty?
Just picked up a fully autonomous electric van that is on my trailer right now.
Oh. Sounds a little scary.
It's a lot scary.
Yeah. I don't know. You know, technology is great. And listen, I appreciate technology, right? Like we couldn't be doing this tonight if we didn't have technology. But I also know that technology fails and that there's a lot of problems that come with technology. So having a vehicle that is fully autonomous scares the daylights out of me.
Well, the biggest issue with autonomy is cybersecurity issues. I mean, we're seeing government entities getting hacked and held for ransom, and they're paying it because they have no choice. What happens when they start hacking all this autonomous vehicles out on the road? As it is, we're driving vulnerable vehicles, but at least we can shut them down, or at least we hope we can.
That question was asked tonight when we went for a ride in this vehicle, the hackability of it. It is a very big issue with these guys. They know that they can be hacked, and they're very well aware of it. And they even agreed when I said that the data links that are in all the semis that Cummins, and Detroit, and Mack, Volvo, and everybody has, that's over the airwaves. He said, yep, it's hackable. So they agree. It's the government that is sitting there with the blinders on saying, oh, no, it can't happen. It'll never happen. The guys that build the stuff know it'll happen.
It's easy for it to happen. The funny thing is,
when I first broke in to building computers as a hobby, I don't know if you remember your Gateway or not, Jenna. Gateway Computers.
I do.
I was talking to one day, and he told me, he said, every day we watch 10 guys, these same 10 guys, go in a room, nobody talked to them, nobody noticed anything. And then pretty soon, they were trying to figure out how to break the virus. And he still thinks to this day those 10 guys were designed to create the virus.
It wouldn't surprise me.
And they had a team trying to break it. If it's it's got a computer chip, and as far as I'm concerned, and processor, it can be hacked.
Absolutely. I mean, everything's been hacked. I don't think that there's a system out there that hasn't been hacked yet.
They talk about hacking as far as the electromagnetic energy that comes off your computer. They can hack into your computer off that from as close as 9 feet away, or as far as 9 feet. They got to be within 9 feet. But I don't know if it can work through a wall or not. But I'm thinking, if you got a computer and you're one side of a motel room and this guy's on the other side of the motel room, if it's sensitive information, it's probably vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Truck stops. My God, how do you guys get anything done in Florida? Because trucks have no place to stop at all whatsoever south of Fort Pierce.
There's three.
What? Right there off from 826 and 27, there's one little dinky truck stop with maybe 10 parking spaces left, if that many.
No, there's 11 on 27 now.
Yeah,
there's one
way out there,
open
right about what, 20 miles? Out in Alligator land out there where they serve up the beers, right? They got the hut, the tiki hut. And...
There's a newer one. There's a newer one, the 595 truck stop that opened recently, right?
Yeah, and it's all paid parking.
It's paid parking?
After 3 hours.
Wow.
And everything's paid
parking
anymore.
I asked about this. Yeah. The truck stop at Hialeah, good luck if you get an hour out of that guy. The Cherokee up on 27 is 3 hours. But it used to be at 595. If you bought fuel, it was free parking. Well, those two have separated, and now it's just you've got 3 hours. That's it. After that, you're paying, I think it's $20.
I don't know if you got a bad connection or what's going on, but it's kind of distorted.
Turn left at the traffic light.
Lee's coming in good with his GPS, though.
Like the main street that I live off of, all the way at the end is the Sawgrass, and there's a truck parking lot there. There's nothing else there, but it's just a lot for trucks.
So what is it about South Florida? They won't allow people to build trucks. Although I got to admit, I lived in New Smyrna Beach. I'm from Central Florida, and there was a guy out there off from 44 wanted to put up a truck stop, and they refused him too. It's like, dude, we need to be able to park our trucks when we're servicing these cities. It's like you got hours of service rules. You drive all the way into South Florida, you get held up trying to get unloaded. You got to come out. You got no place to park unless you get on the turnpike, and you might hit a spot at a rest area on the turnpike.
Yeah, no, you know what? It's people fight and they argue because they're like, oh, I don't want that in my neighborhood. But at the end of the day, they forget that if we didn't have truckers, then we would not have food on the shelves in our stores. We wouldn't get anything that you want to go buy. Like, we need trucks on the road and we need truckers to drive them. So we should really be helping make it easier, not harder.
That's it. I mean, years ago, they were shutting down the rest areas. I think that was after, early 90s? After they started shooting tourists in the rest areas. And so they policed the facilities. Ones had facilities.
Why does the name Eileen ring a bell to that one?
What?
I said, why does the name Eileen ring a bell to that one?
I'm not making it out. I'm sorry.
I think he said, why is the name Eileen ring a bell?
Come on, John, you're from Florida. You know about Eileen. Eileen Morris. She was running around shooting all the drivers.
Oh, I think you're talking about that crazy woman. That wasn't just truck drivers. She killed a preacher. She killed the murderer.
Yeah.
Out there off from 75. So
75, 95.
There's a joke that's been going around with Florida for the Florida man. I think we've all heard that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because the craziest stuff happens in Florida. I tell you what, you don't know what you're going to get down there.
No, it's always like you hear a story, and if it sounds a little crazy, you know it's from Florida. Yeah. Like you don't even have to wait to hear the rest of it.
Driver beware. If you go south of the Georgia-Florida state line, you're on your own. You might just be innocently walking along, mind your own business. Before you know it, you're laying on your back and somebody's eating your face off.
Yeah, no, it's true. My husband and I were in Jacksonville this past weekend and we were driving back to South Florida and we pulled off and stopped at a gas station. And my husband went into the store and walked out. He went to go get a drink. He walked out. He had nothing in his hands. I looked at him and I said, "Where's your water?" It's like, "Oh, no, no, no. We have to get out of here." And I asked him, I said, "What happened?" He's like, "I don't know. There was a woman laying on the floor in the middle of the convenience store. She was like, I don't know. She was having an exorcist or something was going on. There was people standing around her. Then there was another woman that was like, looked like a hippie that had done a lot of drugs that was trying to talk to me." He's like, "I just put the water down and walked out. Time to go."
It's probably getting to be true everywhere, but Florida's the sort of place that you can be in a really bad neighborhood and you're looking around going, "Wow, this looks like a nice neighborhood. This really nice place. I can see living here." And somebody's tapping your shoulder and saying, "You need to get out of here quick." You don't realize what goes on around here.
And the neighborhood.
Look what happened to me 2 years ago at Miami Gardens, John.
I can't make you out, Sean. You got to come back. You got to go out and come back in or something to reset your microphone or your headset's messed up. I don't know which. But
how about now?
No.
Sean has technical difficulties from time to time. It happens.
Yeah.
Where are you at on vehicle mileage tax?
I think it's insane. Okay, so we pay tax on our income, right? So we have federal tax that we pay on our income, and some people have a state tax. Then we pay sales tax on the vehicle that we're buying. Then we pay a tax to register our vehicle. And now they want us to pay a tax per mile. And we pay tax on the gasoline that we buy to put in our car to drive.
Okay, now you got to realize the vehicle mileage tax is meant to replace the fuel tax for the up and coming green energy that they're going to force down our throat.
Of course,
it's not that efficient, nor is it environmentally safe.
No, I'd love to see what happens with so for instance, California, they have to turn off the electricity multiple times a year when they have all the winds that come through because everything's so dry and they're going to have a fire. So how do you charge your car when you have no electricity? Or in Florida, when we have a hurricane and we have no electric because all the lines have gone down, and I've gone weeks without electric after a hurricane. So then what?
Following a hurricane is most miserable couple of weeks you're going to spend. It is very hot, it is very humid, and you got no means to cool yourself down. Unless you're going to get in the car and idle your car, you're pretty much screwed. Let me bring Sean.
Oh yeah, it is miserable. I've been through quite a few down here, and it is miserable.
Oh, Andrew was the worst. Andrew was.
Yeah.
I delivered down there just after Andrew. It looked like a war zone. There wasn't a street sign left. If you didn't know your way around there, you wasn't finding your way. People sleeping out underneath bridges and stuff, and it was just horrible.
It changed the landscape down there forever. I mean, it's still not the same.
No, there wasn't full recovery.
No, that was horrible. But I just think they don't think through the process of everything. I mean, and then you talk about these electric vehicles, but the mining that you need to do for the batteries for the vehicles is worse than the fossil fuels that we're using for the fuel to fuel a gasoline powered car.
Mm-hmm.
And oil has a ton of byproducts. Plastic comes from oil.
Mm-hmm.
So then what? We don't have plastic anymore either?
I think we could create plastics out of. We can still use oil to create plastics. We can use other things to create plastics, probably. But the thing of it is, we usually essentially utilize what we take out of the ground, right? You want to use it all.
Right.
You don't want to just sit there and say, "What are we going to do with all this gasoline? How are we going to store all this gasoline?" Once we extracted everything, you got diesel products, you got gasoline products, all these things that you can't use now. How are you going to utilize it, or how are you going to store it? And that's going to pose a whole new problem.
Yeah.
Sort of like nuclear energy. I mean, it only takes 15,000 years for that to break down. Language
Yeah.
doesn't last that long. So how are you going to safely store it? And the best thing they think to do is put in 55-gallon drums, stuff it in the ground out there somewhere like Utah, so the salt can collapse back on it and stuff. And it can, if it leaks, it'll absorb into the salt. Well, what happens
Yeah.
if somebody starts mining there and we're all gone? You know, how responsible
Yeah, they have
is
no
this?
idea now.
I don't think
Yeah.
we have a whole lot. That's what we're lacking in our government is we don't have a whole lot of foresight. We want to do it, but we don't know how to handle it for the long term.
Right.
You know, it's always for the here and now. It's like spending. Let's just
Yep.
take another $3.6 trillion on top of the already $20-something trillion debt we already have, and because it'll satisfy us now for today. You know, you can't just keep
Yeah.
doing this and expect to have a nation down the road.
There are
No, it-
6,000 products that are made from oil that we use every day. So if you want to eliminate oil, eliminate the cell phone, plastic, glass, all the electrical stuff in it. Everything has oil, paint, clothes. So I don't know why we're trying to get away from oil when our country has it. In my entire life, we've done nothing but sit and complain and say, well, we'll be energy independent someday. Well, we finally were, and the first thing this administration did is stop all the drilling that was going on, and then now ask OPEC to drill more oil. Why? Why are we buying oil when we have oil?
Because we reserve our oil and use somebody else's oil. So when oil runs out over there, we're still energy independent.
Yeah, I've heard that my entire life, too. And they keep
That was
finding
the answer
more
in
oil
your
here.
entire life. Did I see somewhere where you say you stand with Israel?
I do. Yes.
And why do you think it's important to stand with them? I mean, I have my own ideas about this, but I'm curious, why do you think it's important to stand with Israel?
Well, first, I'm Jewish, so it holds a special place in my heart. But second, it's this one little tiny place that is surrounded by people that essentially want to destroy it. And I heard like a very good quote a long time ago, and it said, if Israel were to put down its arms tomorrow, the country would disappear. I mean, they would all be killed. If the other side were to put down their arms tomorrow, they would still live in peace and harmony. They would still be there.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunately they're going through a lot of things right now, like everywhere else in the world. But it's the one place in the Middle East, essentially, that isn't run based off of like really crazy ideals that want to kill a lot of people. I've been to places in the Middle East, and my last name is not a Jewish last name anymore. My husband's not Jewish. And so when I traveled in my passport, nobody knew. But it was really scary for me because I wouldn't be accepted in a lot of those places. But it's not the other way around. You can walk through Israel and have any last name, and it's okay. Your background can be from anywhere. It's a place that has a form of democracy that doesn't exist anywhere that surrounds it. I mean, it's tiny. It's a little speck on the map,
Right.
And I think that first of all, I think we need an ally on that side of the country, or that side of the world, I'm sorry. And to kind of give up on them when they're surrounded by bullies is not the best idea.
Well, the thing about it is we put them there. Between England and the
Yeah.
United States and a few other allies, we took a part of
Yeah.
Palestine and created Israel. And that was after World War II, and that was for a good reason.
Yeah.
And they become this
Yep.
beacon of light of hope in this little dark place in the globe. And as you described, they're a small little place, but they're kind of like a little shining light there. And
Yeah.
and to turn our back onto them is like what we did like what we had done with Afghanistan already. Leave a bunch of people abandoned and hopelessness, and let them just get beheaded. Let them just be tortured, and that's exactly what would happen with Israel. It's like you're
Yeah.
taking God's chosen people and abandoning them. It's like abandoning God Himself.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
So I
I
agree
think
with you.
that a lot of people in this country have abandoned God, and they kind of forgot where we come from. But I'm hopeful that that'll come back.
Nobody
People will
abandoned
start
God.
to-
Science is God now. Science is
Yeah.
God.
I know. Well, that's become the new religion.
I'll praise Pfizer.
Yes. That
Yes,
is the
it's-
new religion. It's Fauci is, the word now, and that's it.
He's our Mohammed.
Apparently.
How do you feel about illegal immigration?
So I'm for legal immigration. I think that in order to have a safe country and a country that we supposedly run off of a set of laws, that we can't just have open borders. And there's a right way to come in. I understand that people flee, they want to come here because you can have a better life. My family immigrated to the United States too, but we did it the right way, and we did it the legal way, and it was through hard work and going the legal route. And there's a lot of people that do that, and they take their time and they go through the process. And for people to just flow in illegally, first of all, we have no idea who's coming in. We don't know their backgrounds. And to just have people running free, I don't think that makes for a very safe country.
And don't forget, they don't need to be checked for COVID because they're not going to be here that long.
Right, of course, right. Because we're just going to let them, and on top of it, we're going to put them on planes in the middle of the night and drop them off all over the country, but they're not going to be here long. They're going home soon.
Right, we're placing them throughout the country. Yeah, it's insane what our country is doing now. The political left will tell you that they're fleeing persecution, and they're trying to give them like political asylum. But I don't see where this is political asylum. This isn't the same thing, I don't.
No.
I think they're trying to mince words to turn this around to make it appear legal, when in fact they are violating the very laws they're required to execute.
Yes. I mean, are these countries where they're coming from, are they in the best shape? No. Do I have empathy? Yes, I do. These kids obviously are not growing up in the best of situations, and I can empathize with that. But, I when I was speaking to somebody earlier today, they gave a really great explanation, and they said, if your home and your kids and your family need help, and your neighbor needs help, you're obviously going to help your own family and your own kids first, right? And that's just the truth. We need to take care of our own people before we can just allow people that we don't know coming in. We have a huge homeless problem. We have tons of kids here in this country that don't have a home, don't have food on the table every day. We have plenty of people that are out of work and need jobs. We have our own problems that we should be dealing with before we're just letting people walk through the door.
Absolutely. You got to take care of yourself first. There's a reason why if the plane is going down, get your oxygen mask first, because you can't assist the guy next to you if you're not breathing.
Right.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So can you hear me now, John?
I think it's a little better.
Okay. So anyway, I sent you a link on a organization, Jenna.
Yes.
If you need a natural disaster, please check into that. Structure with Room to Spare. It's a very good organization, and they do help those that are less fortunate at times.
I will definitely. I looked at them briefly. I will keep a hold of it, though, for sure.
Okay.
We tend to have natural disasters here. They take aim for us.
That's why I sent that to
Yeah.
you, because Shelley Conway actually does a real good job with that. And
That's
John, is there anything else we got?
Well, on her website, you have a petition on your website. What exactly is that petition for?
I do. So in Florida, there's two ways to get on the ballot. You either have to pay to be on the ballot, or you get on the ballot by petition. So that petition is essentially for me to get on the ballot. So because it's a redistricting year, any Florida registered voter can sign the petition, and then I send them in, and I need 599 petitions in order to not have to pay to get on the ballot.
All right. So anybody in Florida can help you out with that. So
Yes.
Jojo Beretta, if you're listening, Joe Alfaro, come on, guys, step it up.
Yeah, I would like to spend the least I possibly have to.
Hey, you know what? That's what conservatism is about, right? I mean, if you're
Yes.
financially responsible, then that's
Yep.
what you want to do. You're going to take the avenue that's going to save a few bucks, and that's
Yeah,
what it's all about.
I'm as grassroots as it comes. My logo I designed at my kitchen table with my team. That's all volunteers at like midnight. Our shirts, I have a heat press that's sitting in my living room that I make my own shirts and whatnot. So we are as grassroots and fiscally conservative as we can be.
So are you at the point of merchandising yet, or are you just making the
So
shirts
we
for your own
have
team?
we have some stuff. We are just sort of starting to get it out there now. Typically by like January, we'll have a big push.
All right.
Well, then I'll make you the same offer I made Kim Coleman when she ran for U.S. Senate. Get me a bumper sticker. I'll put it on the truck for you.
You got it.
He goes into Florida regularly, so
Yeah.
that'd be beneficial.
Actually, last time we spoke, you were going to Pompano.
Right.
Yep.
You go to the Pompano Market.
I did.
There's a place.
I had to make sure.
Stories
I had to
could
make sure
tell.
Amazon was all stocked full of chicken. If you're eating chicken, say thank you, Jenna.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Listen, our shelves are having a rough time down
And then
here.
I pulled over the rest area and almost got hit by a jackknife 18-wheeler.
Oh,
So
God.
thank you.
So what was that about your shelves there, Jenna?
Our shelves are hurting down here. I mean, I go into Publix and half of our shelves are empty. I went to Costco today to stock up on some stuff because it's getting harder and harder for us to get things now.
It's been a long time since I've been to the Pompano Market, but I see Nikki Wilson here comments. Pompano Market is great. I don't know if that was sarcasm or if you see something there I'm not seeing. They used to have a nice
Keep in
restaurant
mind-
years ago.
Keep in mind, this is Nikki.
She likes
The
it.
same Nikki that sent you a message.
Yeah, right. So
I'll hear about that message later.
Listen, I just want to thank you guys for what you do, honestly, because without you guys behind the wheel, we would be in a world of hurt. So I don't think people appreciate what you guys do near enough that they should.
we would like to get people
Well-
more involved into our cause. It's the thing of it is for years we've been trying to get things transition better for the industry, not just better for the industry, but better for the country, because we need economic recovery more than anything. That's where Trump was one of his strongest seasons. We need economic recovery. We need growth in this country. And the regulations are so heinous that they want to restrict us and our ability to maneuver as we need to get the job done. We can do it safely and more productively. But as it is, the major lobby groups, the American Trucking Associations, you got the Teamsters Union, they want to reduce the amount of hours a truck driver can drive. And I'm talking about over-the-road truck drivers, not local truck drivers.
Yeah.
And they want to reduce down to like 60 hours a week. It's like, come on, guys, you want to cut, 10% of our productivity, 10% more? And the only thing I can think is that they want to, because you can reduce capacity, you'll increase rates. That's all I can think they're trying to do. That can be the only angle I can find in it. But at the same time, that's going to hurt our country.
Yeah.
It's not going to benefit us. So we need to get people more involved in what it is we're doing so that we can get things changed within our industry so we can do better for this country. We can't get people to understand that. They don't understand how politically this all affects them. All too often we hear people say, well, I don't talk about politics. I don't get involved in politics. That's too much like religion. Dude, politics affects your life every day. You need to be involved.
Yeah,
You need to make
every
a stand.
single day. I say that all the time. People are like, I'm not political at all.
But then you got guys that sit in Washington like Joe DeLorenzo, or as I affectionately call him, Joey D, who's never drove a truck a day in his life, but all of a sudden they want to start enforcing rules and regulations on stuff that these guys don't even know what they're enforcing. They really don't.
Yeah.
They don't even know their own regulations.
And then you got some guy like Chris Spears at the American Trucking Association who rode with his dad all the time and delivered grain, and now all of a sudden he's this great trucking advocate that thinks he can save the world.
Yeah, conversations need to be had with those that are actually doing the job because they know what the ins and outs are. They know where the difficulties are.
That sounded like a John Grosvenor line if I ever heard one.
Well, we've been
It's the
working
truth.
on it for years, and it's funny because we were talking to a certain senator's assistant, Raid in Indiana, and she said, you know, it's so nice to hear from the truck drivers for a change. We just need to get more people involved so we can get more strength in what it is we're doing.
Yep.
Well, the only problem with that is since Biden took office, we really haven't had a chance to talk to too many of them lately. It seems like they've all just kind of disappeared.
So, guys, I think we
And
ran into our hour.
good.
Getting time to wind this thing down. I'm wondering if you could do us one big favor here, Jenna.
Sure.
Can you say really loud, "Let's go, Brandon"?
Let's go, Brandon.
There you go, Nikki. There you go.
You know, I was going to invite her
Get
back
win.
on the show again, John, in the summer, or at least at the spring, and you have her say, "Let's go, Brandon."
Listen, I said I was going to finish my next school board speech with "Let's go, Brandon" too. So
Yeah, I would get somebody
I
to
swear,
record
I-
that and send us a
I am
copy. We
coming.
want to see it.
I am coming to your house for Thanksgiving, Grosvenor. I'm going to make sure you have a turkey in your face.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You might want to rethink that because I might be in Florida come Thanksgiving. It's a shame when you live in New England and you got to go to Florida to visit the grandkids. How does this work? It's supposed to be the other way around.
yeah,
That's okay. That's okay. I'll find you in Florida.
Yeah, you probably find it easier to find me.
I'll find it easy to find you.
I should be around the O-Town area.
Okay. I'll know how to find you.
I think Winter Haven.
I'll tell you when Jenna's not around.
Oh, boy.
I'll find you.
I'm
But
in
I'll tell you
trouble.
this much. I'll tell you this. It involves two 53-foot spreads.
Two of them.
Two of them.
All right. So, Jenna, we want to wish you the best at winning.
Thank you.
We think you sound like a great candidate, and we're hoping that maybe some
We
folks
do.
watch this, got something out of it. It will offer you some support. We definitely want to get that liberal left mindset out of politics, especially in Florida. We want to see that stay a conservative state because I want to go back from time to time and enjoy that red state. You know, I don't. Florida's beautiful. People get when you live in Florida, you see the true rustic beauty of Florida when you get into the springs and the rivers and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just an awesome state to visit or live in. If you happen to live there, it's awesome. So,
Found a great place that makes it knows how to cook a steak.
hey, what?
I said, I know a great place in Florida that knows how to cook a steak.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a few good steakhouses in Florida.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, thank you for coming on with us and visiting with us. And let us know if you want to
Thank
come
you
back.
so
If
much.
you got any news you want to drop or anything going on, give us a shout, come back on, and make some announcements.
I absolutely will. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And it was a pleasure having you on tonight, Jenna. And thank you for putting up with our humor.
Absolutely. You guys drive safe, okay?
The darkness of it
You
was the
take care.
pre-show conversation, but that's okay. All right. So that's our little bit for tonight. ladies and-
I'm going to make sure them two 53-foot spreads are flatbed too, John.
Well, I love flatbedding. I don't know where this is going, but I do love flatbedding. Yes. Where else are you going to deal with chains and straps? All right. So anyway, yeah, that's our little bit, ladies and gentlemen. We hope that you got something out of it. Catch you next time around. Same time, same place. Possibly next week. We kind of been branching these out a little bit. Haven't been on them as often as we usually are, but give a little about the Jenna, and we'll catch you later.